For the better part of 2 years, I was a food aid monitor with Canadian Foodgrains Bank, monitoring our emergency response to Southern Africa, and that involved Mozambique, which was then in a civil war, Angola, which was in a civil war, Zimbabwe, Zambia, and Malawi. Grain moved, was put onto a ship in bulk in Canada, and then was shipped in bulk all the way to either Port Elizabeth in South Africa or to Beira, Mozambique. So a huge operation just to get it to the continent, and then at the port it was put in bags, 50-kilogram bags, and then put on a truck, and those trucks went all over Southern Africa. The agency, Canadian Foodgrains Bank, which is the agency I represent, is owned by all of the main churches of Canada. And currently we're talking about 15 churches. That's part of the beauty of Canadian Foodgrains Bank, is that you could say that effectively anywhere in the world where an emergency comes up, almost always we will have some link to that country, to that region where we can mobilize. We're more than 30 years old now, but the Canadian Foodgrains Bank story does begin here in Ethiopia, and of sorts it's still an unfolding story. We've been continuously present in Ethiopia through our implementing partners for 30 years, and Ethiopia is, it becomes part of our history. It becomes also that place where we can say effectively anything that has ever occurred in the humanitarian experience, we've experienced it here. And we can translate some of that institutional history to other places in the world. Probably the biggest impact isn't so much that we can say we have fed 1 million people or whatever the number is. It's the commitment to being in solidarity with that part of humanity that doesn't know where tomorrow's lunch is coming from, or where people that are born, that are raised, and perhaps even die in poverty. Just to say that we're in solidarity. We're kind of a symbol of what Christ expects of us. Hunger and poverty is a man-made condition, definitely. And then coming out of the Christian world and life view, it's the brokenness, right? And I think we have to see it at that level. In the secular world, they wouldn't call it brokenness, right? The approximation is always related to power. There is so much power in the world, and what we have to do is kind of bring that into balance. And then if we can bring those power relations into balance, well, then we can solve the problem. And I'm of the belief, and this is then my Christian world and life views, to say we can work for generations on that power imbalance, which we have to do, but there will still be hunger and poverty. In an abstract sense, the soil is the only thing that we have. I mean, that's the medium, and what is progressively happening over time, not here in Ethiopia, but even in Canada, is that that medium is being destroyed. Its ability to generate that growth, that production that we need to sustain ourselves is becoming diminished. And in Walaita, it's a function of extraordinary growth of population, and in turn they are stripping the land. They're cutting down the trees, cutting down the plant life at a rate that the land can't regenerate itself anymore through natural forces. And so with the passage of time, the land is being denuded, eroded because it's a very mountainous place, and the production goes down. And Walaita is one of those places where we suddenly find ourselves what we term a green famine. Everything around us is green, yet people are in famine-like conditions. And so if we destroy the very thing that nurtures us, that gives us life, then, I mean, what can, you know, it's going to be a disaster. And so in the first instance, making the people aware of how what they do is actually undermining their production, what we need to invest in, and it's not a resource transfer, it's a knowledge transfer, is putting in their head an awareness of how your relationship with the land is so very, very important. And if you have a good relationship with the land, it will reward you. It will sustain you. But if we mine the land, if we what would it call it, exploit it, then it responds in kind. People that suffer from chronic grinding poverty become very fatalistic because you don't have any effort expended results in a zero-sum game. Nothing. I'm still hungry. I still can't. And so that's the real crux of the problem. Is that poverty takes that very basic thing of human nature away from us. And for we Canadians, for we in the West, we're born in a situation where the possibilities are limitless. If you make even just a modest effort, it's going to have a positive response. And so it's hard for us to even comprehend what poverty is because it's so out of our experience. Mm-hmm. In Sidama with the Mesret de Christos, there the story was again about the environment, but now a larger picture where we actually physically saw that within a generation of neglect, the land becomes totally wasted. I mean, we saw gullies, we saw ravines of a magnitude that are unimaginable. It had been completely and utterly destroyed. And so what the partner has been doing now for more than 10 years is rehabilitating the whole land base with stone bunds, with terraces, with checked dams, with the planting of trees. And you could see as you stood on the top of the hill, you cast your eyes and you could see the whole gradient of how in one area that had not been treated, it was a wasteland. And then you just panned 90 degrees and over there, it was all green. And then we actually walked down that area, and you could see now how that land was being regenerated. One of those mechanisms that have worked very well in Ethiopia in bringing women into the mainstream of development is working with and through self-help groups. There are men self-help groups, there are men and women self-help groups, but I would say for our partners, the bulk of them would be women groups. And the beauty of it is that, to bring 15, 20 women together, they immediately have a bond where they're talking about their families, about their husbands, about their challenges, and they can come up with ideas to improve their lot as women folk. And it's a self-help group approach that allows that to happen. Dollar for dollar, your best investment with long-term results would be an investment in girls' education. Hands down. Yeah. And it doesn't matter if that's Ethiopia or Niger or Myanmar, Somalia, you name it. Girls' education. It's hopefully simplified, but you're guaranteed results in the short term and most definitely in the long term. With population growth, with the expansion of agriculture on these pastoralist lands, it suddenly becomes a fair challenge to be a pastoralist. And so what the partners, Support for Sustainable Development, has done is again, with a great deal of foresight and vision, it realized that, well, these streams and rivers that flow from the highlands and past these pastoralist communities that are moving around, well, if we divert it and can encourage these people to become at least part of the time sedentary, or at least for part of the population to become sedentary, you're assured of a livelihood. And now you become an agro-pastoralist. And yeah, that's the beauty of water, right? It transforms. I mean, we drove for a day and a half through nothing but dryness, rock and sand and sagebrush and kind of a wasteland. And then suddenly we drive up to a river and it's green, nothing but green. And I like the comment of, whereas the Afar people historically had to take a portion of their herds and go up into the highlands and exchange their livestock for grain. Now those very people from the highlands that they used to buy grain from are coming down and buying the grain from them. Just a remarkable story. There was a story I shared when I was working with the Christian Reformed World Relief Committee in Mexico of a young woman who had to have her leg amputated, and she'd participated in a training on apiculture, and how years later, through a missionary, I'm delivered a glass of honey from this then young girl. When this missionary had told her that he was going to Canada, she had remembered that this fellow, this Samuel, he provided this training, this opportunity for her, and she wanted to make sure that, to show her gratitude, she asked this missionary to deliver a glass of honey. And I'm saying, and that's what it is. It's about it's that that reciprocal relationship where we're engaged in something together. I'm a very privileged person. I've been doing this for this type of work for 37 years. I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of horrible things. But I've seen a lot of wonderful things. And I believe in what I'm doing. And when I say what I'm doing, it's not about me again, right? I'm cast into this scene, and I'm just a small, very insignificant piece, but I'm a piece of that.